If you want to do well in Nightmare Raid battles and also just auto-battling Void battles and different IO boards, then the right team composition is crucial. Greetings and salutations, killers. Welcome back. I'm going to tell you how to create the best team composition once you start considering the co-abilities that you have. There's certain tricks and tips that I'm going to share with you here that's going to maximize your team's potential. Now, there's 8 different co-abilities. I'm going to start off with the 4 that are meant to be able to just increase all the numbers directly in the combat, because those are the easiest ones to talk about first. And I'm going to start off with the most important one. It's also the most accessible one, since there's so many different dagger users that are out there right now, and with the exception of green, every single element has access to like at least 3 of the suckers. I'm talking about critical rate. Now, as you increase your critical rate, that's the greater chance you have of landing a critical hit, which is going to deal 1.7 times damage, or a lot more if you're an axe unit, on that particular hit. It's a random chance. Increasing that chance is going to have it happen more, and this is what's up. Your active damage dealer, the person you are controlling, needs crit chance galore. I mean, you really can't get too much of it on your active character. There is no diminishing return point within reach in the game right now that will actually outstrip, point for point, any other buff. Like, it might become trivial towards some of the upper stuff, but honestly, it's always still going to be better. Anything below 20% is not enough on your primary damage dealer. That's why having a dagger unit on your team is crucial whenever you're talking about team composition. It's going to pay off dividends for everybody on the team, especially you and the person that you're controlling. So the next best thing you can put on your team is strength from a blade. Now, here's the deal. This benefits your team the best, and here's why I say that. Your team is not as aggressive as what you could be, being able to just tap on the screen like with reckless abandon, being able to get all the attacks off, because that's how you get to roll against a chance to critical hit, is by having that swing. If you don't have those swings there, then you know what? Strength is important, because it's just going to raise the bar in general, and that's what you need for the rest of your team. You're going to have lots of heavy hitters. You're probably going to fill it out with the ranks of other people that you've gotten and just don't like to use anymore, but they're still powerful in your team. They need strength. It's going to affect their skill damage. It's going to affect all their other damage, and since they're not going to be triggering their skills as often as your main character, since they're not going to be getting critical chances as many times as your active damage dealer, strength is going to be what's helping them out a lot, and it's really just helping out 3 adventurers at once, raising the bar, and it is wonderful. So the second most important thing for everybody at this point in time is skill damage. Finally, yes, even at 15%, you're not going to be dealing more damage than the 10% that you could potentially get from a dagger user. However, once you have that one user on your team providing the skill damage, there are so many different adventurers that can just leverage off of that so well, and there are certain specials that just pay more dividends based strictly on skill damage. Something like Bleed, for instance, just goes amazingly broken once you start rising skill damage by itself. It's just incredible. So don't neglect it. It's basically what your active damage dealer and all your 3 other passive damage dealers want right after their preferred attribute. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about recovery potency. It's not that it's bad. I mean, even though it primarily only helps the healer that comes with it, you're healing your team. I mean, you want to have that as high as possible. It also does affect everybody who has their own like self-healing ability when it comes down to it, but the thing is that either that self-healing is just not good enough, or it's already good enough. I mean, unless you're trying to like do something weird with worm prints, which is sort of out of scope of this conversation, it doesn't matter that this bonus is going to everybody else, so it is what it is. Now we're going to go and talk about the last 4 co-abilities, and we're going to start off sort of taking a look at the hit points and the defense bonus. Now, when it comes down to it, in endgame content, they're pretty much going to be the same. They're not too far off. I will say that there is some nuances in how some of this goes. The more hit points that you have, the more likely the hit point percentage is going to help you. Also, the defense percentage is more likely to help those who are on the front line. Funny thing is those who are on the front line tend to have the higher defense and the higher hit points, so it roughly is about the same, which, by the way, you don't want to ignore these because it prevents the worst status effect in the game, death. It's completely overpowered. You can't do anything once it happens. I mean, devs, come on, nerf this. There is not going to be enough of a difference to really bother to split this out, so when it comes down to it, just know that you are giving yourself the best chance at survival. I'll just address Dragon Haste right now. It's okay. There's really only a couple people who care to use it, and even then, at that point in time, it's not a huge tactic that's going to get you any real dividends. If you don't have a sword user on your team, don't fret it. Last but certainly not least is skill haste. Now this is great in several different circumstances. When it comes down to it though, even at 15% skill haste, you're not going to get a dramatically shorter time off of your combos for attacking, assuming that you can have sustained assault. Once you start jumping around between targets, once you start having to engage and disengage to stop and dodge different attacks, that's where the benefits of haste come in, and 15% in that case is pretty much almost all you need. You could definitely stack on something like Jewels of the Sun, but honestly, something like that at that point in time is just getting ridiculously funny. You don't need Jewels of the Sun and something like that. If you don't have an archer on your team that's going to give you this haste bonus from the co-ability, sure, go ahead and do whatever skill haste you want. You'll start to notice it as you start to switch around targets. But this 15% alone, remember, is not going to be like game-changing unless you are actively dodging out of the way, or if you are constantly choosing new targets, messing up your combo chances. That's where the benefit of that comes into play. If that's happening to you, if you see that happening, then skill haste is actually going to save your bacon. And now that every single hero can get the maximum co-ability value once you level them up completely and unbind them, go ahead and check out this video here so you can see who my recommendations are for 3-star units that you might want to consider promoting, especially if you're missing somebody in that slot. My name is Deltron. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you, and until next time, take it easy.